Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to another little review of an FSX Steam Edition product. So today we're going to be taking up the A2A Simulations J-3 Cub. We're going to be taking that up for a quick spin and enjoying it and seeing why it is that you would spend and buy a DLC for an aircraft that is technically included by default in FSX. First off, before we get started, on usual, have a look at the outside and then head on into the office, as it were, and go for our quick little test flight. I do want to say thank you very much to the wonderful guys over at Dovetail Games for providing the review copy of this add-on, so we can review it and see what it's like for our simulation pleasure. Alrighty, so first things first, why would you get this? I'll be honest, when I first came to FSX some time ago, I did see this, I remember when it first came out and I went, okay, why am I going to want to spend a fairly inordinately large amount of money on an add-on for an aircraft which is actually already featured in the game? So the Piper J-3 Cub is sort of a classic of aviation and is already present as one of the default aircraft. Now, when you fly it, when you get in it, when you start it, suddenly you understand why. So this was one of the sort of first major release from A2A when Scott Gentile and the team from A2A Simulations really sort of went, okay, we want to make flying in simulation more like flying. We want to give the feel and the idiosyncrasies and stuff that you get with flying. We want to put that into the simulation world. So the J3 Cub was really a sort of an experiment. And a very successful experiment at that as well. So it is designed to be incredibly, it behaves like a Cub. It doesn't have the flight sim, well, okay, you'd never get rid of all of the flight sim sort of oddities, but it doesn't have the sort of negative sort of or doesn't, the feeling you get in some of the default aircraft where it just doesn't feel like a real aircraft. This one, it creaks, it rattles, it just, it'll do strange things, or rather, it won't do strange things, it'll do the things that it's supposed to do when you put it in the situations that you put it in. So that combined with the AccuFeel add-on, again, this was very much a technological demonstrator for the AccuSim technologies pioneered by A2A. Then it really is. It just grows into a whole new world. It really does. So yes, it's a basic aircraft. The Piper J-3 Cub. We sort of all heard of the Piper Cub. We may not have flown them, and the real ones, unfortunately, they are becoming rarer as time goes on, considering that we are looking at an aircraft that was designed and produced and has its lineage back into the late 20s and the early 30s, and this particular the J3 was a 1940 production aircraft. So it is an aircraft that is sadly becoming fewer in our skies, but I tell you what, it is something that we all know about, and yeah, this is a way for us to keep that dream alive, as it were. All right, okay. Enough of me waffling on, looking at the outside. Let us jump into the inside, and we shall get started. So, alrighty. So we can see here it's a basic Cub. The Cub is basic. Now, if you're expecting to have a GPS, or if you're expecting to have switches and levers and all sorts of things to press, you're going to be sadly disappointed, because the Cub was designed to be a simple aircraft, to be affordable, to be something that people can enjoy and actually be able to afford and get. So it's as pretty much basic as you get, and you know what? What that means is that you get a flight experience, not just a pushing button experience, which is something that's underrated, and very much sort of underrated, the whole experience of flying. So you know what, this is actually not a bad thing. Alright, so we've got the detail here, so let's go through here. Again, very, very similar to the way that it's designed. Its default sort of counterpart appears as well. We've got there's not a great deal that you really do with a Cub. It's, there's a couple of basic dials and gauges, and that's pretty much that's kind of it. It doesn't really sort of, lend itself to having all the mod cons. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. And because it's not always, as much as I sort of say often about, the aesthetics and things like that, which are always great, and don't get me wrong, the detail and the texture on this are incredible, but this one is really the add-on that is about flying. It really, really is. So that is what you want in this one. Alright, so what we're going to do is we'll go through that. So that's the basics of the cockpit. Now, a couple of things with this one. So we do have a couple of shift pop-ups that are worth knowing about. There we are. Okay, so this is your main one. So this is essentially where you can control some of the controls and also some of the external things. So for example, we've got our all our tie downs and stuff like that. You can actually remove those here as well. So we're going from a cold and dark start. Now you can always just do the auto start or shut down. The normal control E doesn't work, guys, so you do have to use this little pop-up for this one. Alright, so we've got outside air temperature, so we'll need to warm everything up a little bit in just a moment. Alright. So yeah, it's just the basic controls, things that you're going to need. The other one as well that you got is this one, which is your payload manager, and we'll talk more about the passenger fairly soon. So this one's where you check your fuel, and you do need to check your oil every now and again. So this is where we started to see the AccuSim features, and that became the infamous or very famous, that Y2A is famous for, and how it changes flight and how it makes things a very interesting little simulation experience. So yeah, that's what you start to see in this one. Alright, but we'll get back to that one in just a moment. Alright, so our first thing is we're going to get this beautiful aircraft started. Alright, so no parking brakes, nothing silly like that. Alright, now as I said, it's a cold time out there at the moment, so we're going to want to we're going to put our fuel on for a start. Throttle's back at the moment. Now we're going to need a carburetor heat on. Now we'll just give a couple of shots of primer to the engine. Alright, we'll put our magnetos on. Turn our tie downs off. There we go. Okay, now the fun part. This is actually about hand starting this aircraft. So none of these auto starters or anything silly like that. Okay. And it won't always catch. There we go. Doesn't that and it's the audios, the audio tracks for this were taken from actual Cubs, so they did actually record actual Cubs to actually get the sounds of the J-3 Cub, and it's just amazing. So we're going to be needing to do our run up, foot on the brake. So we're going to need to get the temperature up a little bit. Now there's no flaps, no slats, no newfangled gadgets or anything like that. This is a basic aircraft, and again, it's the aircraft that will remind you how to fly, and something that it can be used. We talk about simulation for flight training and stuff like that. You know what? This is one of those moments where you want to really sort of remember that and think about that. Alright, now I did say that I was going to talk briefly more about the passenger on board. So everyone, let's just look at this. Let's have a look. Where are we? Alright, let me just get this all in the right order. Alright, so we'll bring it up. So, everyone, I want you to meet Heidi. Hi! So, we have Heidi. Hi Heidi, how you doing? So, all ready to go there. So, Heidi,
it's cold in here.
can actually, so you can change her moods, so you can see how she likes. So she can be nervous, she can be fun, she can be silent, or she can be calm. You know what? We're going to take the, let's, just because it's probably going to be a bad idea, let's take the nervous Heidi out for a spin today. Alright, now, this is going to seem odd because very few aircraft have this, but no, she's not just the fact that she's there, she's interactive. So what you do and how you handle the aircraft will actually make a difference to how Heidi acts. So let us see how that goes. Alright, I think it's about time that we look at getting into the aircraft. Well, we're already in the aircraft, so let's get ready to taxi out. Now, she said thanks there because if you, I don't know if you remember before, but you know she did say that she was a little cold. Now you know why. And you can crack down the window, or all the way. I'll take it back up. So we'll leave it all down for now. All right. Oh, just the sound of the Cub is just cool. All right. So let us taxi out. We're going to taxi down. We're going to go for a quick little trip around the airfield here and then come back. So this is something else as well. It adds a whole new set to the physics as well. So it's not just about, you know, the flight handling as well. It is also about the ground handling. It's so much gets added when you get when A2A put this in. So once you've flown, look, it's expensive, you know, it is, I'm not going to kid you, it really is, but at the same time, once you've flown the A2A Cub, you will never go back to the default one. You just won't. Just flat out, you just won't. Alright. So taxi here. Oh, might misjudge that turn. Yeah, this is an aircraft. Oh, is it? Yeah, you get that feeling of her running around on the ground. Alright. Turn around a bit. Alright. Now we'll go for our run up again. Now we'll check the temperature. Alright. Yeah, looking a bit better. Alright. I think we're ready to get this beautiful aircraft into the air. Now, the Cub's not going to go anywhere very quickly. You get her on the step like that. And up we go. As I said, very, very basic controls because this is an aircraft that you fly. You actually fly it. You don't just press buttons and it just does its own thing. This is an aircraft which you actually fly. You are, it wants you to fly it. It expects you to actually do the things that you're supposed to do with it. You know, it actually wants you to be in control, and that is just, it's something that, you know, I get people want to fly, you know, the A380s and, you know, all your tube liners and all that kind of rubbish, and don't get me wrong, I love flying my modern aircraft as well, but this is why, bless you Heidi, this is why we fly this kind of experience. Feeling the creaks in the airframe, feeling, you know, actually getting the feel for the aircraft. That's just, this is as close to the real flying as you probably will get with something from A2A Simulations, especially the Piper Cub. So yeah, absolutely amazing work. Now, for those purists out there, you know, the Piper Cub has been out for a number of years. So the Piper Cub was released back in '09 for FSX box editions back in the classic days. So this has now been brought across onto Steam Edition, and so it is fully compatible with Steam Edition and is available from the Steam store. Of course, however, for those who have the box edition version, you can always use your box edition version in Steam as well. So just to reassure any fears there. But yeah, as you can feel, the Cub, she doesn't go anywhere quickly. She doesn't. She just flies. She just purrs along, and just absolutely amazing. She really is. And there's just something about how majestic a Cub is. You know, she just floats through the air, and you really can just trim her out, and she just flies. She wants to fly. She wants to just. She's a beautiful, placid aircraft. There's a reason why it trained, nearly 3/4 of American pilots during the Second World War. They got their basic training in a Cub, and why she's to this day is still proving so popular. And although the J-3 Cub that we fly here from A2A, stopped its production back in 1947. The Cub design continues to this day. So Piper produced its last variant of the Cub in the early 90s, but the design's been purchased and continues to soldier on now with Cub Crafters Carbon Cubs, so sort of like the modernized version of it. But still, and absolutely, the basic design of it is just flawless. It really is. It's just so docile, so just wanting to just enjoy it and just be a pilot. This is what it is. We enjoy. Now, for the slightly fun stuff. Now, I did mention that Heidi, as passenger on board, will react to what you do. All right. Now, I did put nervous Heidi on, didn't I? Yeah, I think I did. All right. Let's try this.
Oh my god, we're going to die!
Heidi can be a little bit freaked out. But you see how docile the aircraft is? She's just so docile, even while sort of doing a fairly aggressive side slip there.
Oh my god!
And you will have much fun with Heidi and doing all sorts of interesting things just to sort of freak her out and see what she does and what she says. Now we don't want to overspeed the engine. But this is some of the things. Yeah, this is the fun parts of a Cub. Right. Oh, we'll close that.
Anyone know where to look for us if we crash?
And she will come up with some very interesting comments from time to time. So yes, and things like the grabbing of the handles and stuff. When you do certain actions and things like that. I don't know if you can hear it. You can actually hear the airframe creaking as you do this, and that's just cool. Yeah. All this is like.
That really wasn't fun.
No, I don't know. I thought it was pretty fun. So yeah, this is like the cool things that you get with this aircraft, and it's just the sense you get from having all those little systems, having the little creaks, and just knowing this is an aircraft that wants you to fly it. That you have to fly. You don't just press a button and then walk away from your keyboard for 4 hours. So this is not an add-on for people who just want to press buttons and walk away. But if you're actually into your aviation and you respect aviation for what it is and you want to experience that just the joy of flying and forgiving an aircraft that it's one of those phrases that is oft used about many things, and and I think I loathe to use it, but you know what, I think it fits here. This is very much an aircraft that's easy to fly but very, very hard to master. And you know what, if you respect aviation and enjoy it, I think you will consider, if not already have gone out and purchased this, because it is absolutely incredible. Alright, so we're going to come in for our final landing here. Now, I warn you, my tail dragger landings are somewhat rusty at times. Okay, a bit of side slip in.
Wow, what a beautiful landing.
Hey! That is the first time she's ever said beautiful landing to me. Ever. Ever. I always get, yeah, I usually need to replace wheels after this. So, yeah. Wow. Cool. Alright, we'll taxi back over to the ramp. Oh, that's probably one other thing I should probably talk about as well. So, as I said, this is the AccuSim sort of version with everything. Yep. She doesn't handle on the ground as well as she handles in the air. Just FYI. Yeah, we'll just ignore that bit. Anyway, alright, let us just get back over to the ramp here at Catalina. By the way, the airfield we've been flying out of today is Catalina from 7720. Alright, so we'll pull in here. There we go. Okay, now, when we shut down, you don't shut off just by dropping the fuel mixture, by the way, in this one. You shut it off by in the magnetos. There we go. Now I'll open the door for Heidi. Carburetor off. Fuel off. Throttle closed. Excellent. And our tie downs on. There we go. Okay. So, something else as well is the maintenance hangar. So, maintenance hangar, your airframe and your engine hours do all add up. So this is one of the, again, innovative things about A2A's AccuSim sort of technology, is the fact that it will remember stuff. It will sort of tick everything over. And you do have to keep an eye on this, because your aircraft's behaviour will change with time. It will creak differently, and you will feel the aircraft, and yeah, you will need to do an overhaul on it every now and again. So you can switch it between the sort of the frequent overhauls or the sort of extended time between overhauls. So it's up to you, but it will remind you, and it will keep a constant monitoring of your engine and your airframe, and then you just overhaul it when necessary. Alright, so final thoughts. Well, it's kind of obvious, really, isn't it? This is an awesome add-on. It really is. And yes, it's expensive. Yes, you're gonna go, why should I pay a fairly significant amount of money for an aircraft that is essentially already included with FSX? Look, there's no way to really describe that other than you will not regret it. I kind of can't really say anything than that. You won't regret it, because of the fact that it just gives you so much more. Warning though, if you're only in for FSX for button pushing and you know, that's it, you're not going to like it. But if you actually have a passion for aviation and actually want to experience aviation, then you will end up buying this. I can guarantee it. I absolutely can. Alright folks, well that wraps up my review of the A2A Simulations J-3 Cub. Thank you very much once again to the guys over at Dovetail Games for supplying the review copy of this. This is available for purchase on Steam, either as a standalone download or in combination with the recently released Air Alaska pack from Take Flight Interactive, mission pack for the FSX, which is also designed expressly to work with A2A's J-3 Cub. So there you go. Alright folks, thanks very much for tuning in. Don't forget forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying these reviews and want to see more. And as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NoBoeing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.